Thank you for being here this evening. We'd like to welcome you to the City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, August 17th, 2021. This time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And sorry, this thing keeps getting louder. I'm going to try and back away a little bit. So we'd like to have an invocation first and foremost by Jeff Barnum, who's the first counselor in the bishopric in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the Bacana Park Ward, after which we'd ask that Councilmember Vince Manfredi lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Our Father in heaven, grateful we come to this city council, and we're thankful for the opportunity that we have to be there, to be here in front of thee. Father, we ask thee now that thy spirit be with us, this council and with this city. We are grateful for the moisture that's fallen. We're grateful for the opportunity to have our plants grow and our crops grow, and we ask thee now to help us to be prepared that we can capture this rain so that we can use it. Father, we're thankful for all those soldiers that are serving out in the field. Not only them, but the local police, and also our utility workers and our firefighters. We ask a special blessing of health and safety upon them so that they can continue to help our city grow and to be safe. Father, we're so thankful for the many blessings that we do have to live in this free country, to be able to worship as we will. Father, again, we ask for thy spirit to be with us this night. We give thanks to thee, knowing all great things come from thee. And we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brother Barnum. Appreciate it. At this time, we'll move to the roll call.
Councilmember Learman. Here. Councilmember Manfredi.
Here.
Councilmember Marsh.
Here.
Councilmember Vidiello. Councilmember Wade.
Here.
Vice Mayor Smith. Mayor Price.
Here.
Mayor, we have
Great. Sorry, we had some trouble with the mics over there the other day during our other meeting. We're trying to get all that worked out. So at this time, we'll move to proclamations, acknowledgements, and awards. We don't have anything. This will take us a report from the mayor and the city council members. So council members, anything at this time you'd like to report to the citizens and constituency? Yes, Councilmember Marsh.
Yes, a lot of friendly faces out there today. I've had a busy couple weeks. On August 9th, we had a long Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Several new projects were discussed. On the 10th, I attended the Pinal County Water Augmentation Authority meeting, and also a City Council special meeting, and the Governor's Water Council meeting. That's part of the Arizona Department of Water Resources. The topic was groundwater, and no, we don't have enough groundwater for the future, but statewide, but we do in Maricopa. On the 11th, I attended the Arizona Department of Water Resources meeting where we discussed Management Plan Number 5 updates. On the 12th, at the new Senior Center, I attended a COPA Seniors meeting where Jim Irving presented the COPA Seniors plans going forward. On the 16th, I attended the Age Friendly Committee meeting, and they did a goal setting, their plans, goals, and objectives for the coming year. Also on the 16th, this week, the U.S. government declared a Tier 1 shortfall in Colorado River water based on the altitude of the lake behind the Hoover Dam, Lake Mead. And Tier 1 causes a serious reduction in CAP water to Arizona's agricultural community. No impact to Arizona residential users, but area farmers will have to let some fields go fallow or pump underground water in order to raise crops. As the drought in the West continues, further reducing hydropower generation capabilities, the likelihood of blackouts this year and more likely next summer continues. I'm keeping an eye on it, and in Maricopa and the Monitor are reporting on it. So keep an eye out, and you might think in terms of making some preparations for a potential blackout. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Anyone else at this time? I just wanted to report then very briefly that last week the task force from the City Council, Councilmember Rich Vitiello and Vice Mayor Smith and myself met with the Maricopa Domestic Consolidated Water Improvement District. Had a very good meeting. We agreed on quite a few things, which is a really good thing. We're working together on a new IGA, and we were able to finish our hydrant testing as well, and so we were able to review those reports. So anyways, it was a very good, profitable meeting. I think we were able to move forward on a lot of things, and so look forward to seeing what comes of that. And, you know, if we run into snags, we'll continue to go back and see what we can't do to overcome those. So we are working together, which is a good thing. That's all that I have at this time. So again, anything else, council? Seeing nothing, we'll go ahead and move to the report from the city manager. Nothing from the city manager at this time. That'll take us to the call to the public. First speaker card I have is who we'll go to first. This is for former Vice Mayor Peg Chapados. Please come forward. And then that's the last speaker card I have, so anyone else would like to approach the podium, please do so. Again, we give everybody a 3-minute time limit. We will stick to that just to make sure that we're fair to everybody. And go.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor Smith, members of council, City Manager Horst, and fellow neighbors.
Peg, is that microphone on?
It is now.
All right. You might have to talk real close to it.
Okay.
They seem to be loud up here and quiet down there. Sorry.
Seeing as how tonight is a theme for economic development, I'm just going to follow in on the tails of that. And I'm here to announce that another economic driver is coming back to Maricopa. Tina Frank and myself are producing the Maricopa Main Street Marketplace Arts and Crafts Show Thanksgiving weekend, Saturday, 11/27, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Leading Edge Academy. We're also making a call for artisans. Our only requirement is that it's either handmade or homemade. We have 45 booths total. We still have booths available, so if you want more information, you can get a hold of me. I've got some business cards here, or follow us on Facebook at Maricopa Main Street Marketplace. Thank you.
Thank you, Peg. Appreciate it. Awesome. Anyone else at this time like to approach the podium?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor,
Howdy.
and council members. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're gonna have to speak loud. For some reason, the mics aren't quite working right tonight.
Yeah, volume. Okay. Okay, well, I just want to say that I have successfully turned in 2 applications about controversial books and turned them into the library, so I'm very happy about that.
Excellent.
And I didn't really hear Councilman Marsh's, what he said about the water, only a little bit about that, maybe blackouts, shortages, all that. So in response to that, I'm just going to say very quickly that I don't understand the building, the water park. I mean, I like all of it. It's good, but I don't get it. So maybe you can help me out with that. And I just want to say thank you for all the good things that you do. Once again, I know that you've taken an oath. I haven't read your oath, but I would like to read that because I know that you're here for our good and you're part of it too. And so with that, I do pray for you and hope for our best. And with that being said, I will say that I would like to quote someone that I respect, and I'm grateful to have the privilege of hearing this by him. And he says, "We will not bend, we will not break, we will not give in, we will never give up, we will never back down, we will never surrender, and we will always fight on to victory. Because we are Americans, and our hearts bleed red, white, and blue. We are one people, one family, and one nation under God." And that is our Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. And this tells how I feel about my country and our city. So I'll do everything I can to protect our children and the area of the books at the library. So thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anyone else at this time like to approach the podium and tell us what's on their mind? Okay, Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and close the call to public. Thank you very much for your participation. That'll take us to item 7, which is the consent agenda. Council, any questions or concerns on the consent agenda? This is item 7.1 through 7.6. Any concerns at this time? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve then, please? I have a motion by the Vice Mayor and a second by Councilmember Manfredi. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. That'll take us to the section 8, which is the regular agenda. Here on 8.1, this is a presentation. The Mayor and City Council shall hear a presentation by Adam Sachs, the Executive Director of the Maricopa Economic Development Alliance. This is for discussion only. Adam, take it away.
Good evening, Council. Nice to see everybody. As we had said in the past, I wanted to be able to come in, update a bit about what's been happening, and especially in the last couple of months and the activity that's leading to where I think we are right now, which is a very interesting. So my PowerPoint does not. Not operating this right? This, right?
The wrong PowerPoint?
Oh, there you go. That's what I was.
It has been the night of technical difficulties. We'll just keep chalking up to it. It's all good.
Oh, okay. So if we want to go to the first slide, or which I think we did. So the second slide. Okay. So sorry, that totally threw me off because it was supposed to start about people. Why did I choose to start this presentation with people? Because if there is one thing that the last number of months and the people I have met and the things that are going on, it is about workforce. It is about relationships. It is about getting to the right individuals that guide a tremendous amount of development for the state of Arizona to look at the city of Maricopa. And I found this as just a good place to start. I put on there about the META board, which is comprised of business executives, government, city management. It is the brain trust that is going to take us where we need to be. So just a little preamble. The next slide this is really about the Site Selector Guild that I went to in June in Orlando, Florida. This was the first premier economic development event to happen in the country. It was, I'm happy to say, before all of the present situation that we're all in all over the place again. So it was very well attended. And this is the premier group. On the next slide, it just talks a little bit about, this is from the Site Selector Guild itself. The Site Selector Guild is the only association of the world's foremost professional site selection consultant. These guild members provide location strategy to corporations across the globe and within the country. Next slide. So this particular event, we can have the next slide. The particular event, again, was the first time this organization has gotten back together. There are 55 guild members in the world total. That is the exclusive number. This is not an enormous organization. And I can tell you that it was very funny in follow-up to a couple of the things that we've been working on. These folks' names are the ones who are coming up. So you met them, and then immediately they wind up handling things that are affecting our area. There were 55 members in total. 37 of them made it to Orlando. 25 of them I was able to shake hands with, talk with, and I have to tell you that, it was kind of funny because literally I had to think about going back a couple of months ago. The word Maricopa was the lead name in every news story every night. So the minute I shook a hand and said City of Maricopa, I started getting, so I actually had to differentiate us from the county about 1 million times, but I have to tell you that worked to our advantage. It allowed me an immediate icebreaker with these folks to talk about what the City of Maricopa means, and the minute you start quoting some of our statistics, which we have from diversity and workforce, things that are wonderful, it immediately made for conversation. 12 members that I was not able to actually meet while there were all contacted afterwards and have been continuing outreach. And then some of these same members will be again next month. I will be at the next Site Selector Guild, and they've already put out a list, and there are at least 22 of the same 55 coming to that. I think 37 was a big number given that it was the first big event. We can go to the next slide. These are the companies that are represented by this group. And I realize that not everybody might be familiar, but you're going to either have to take my word for it or you can Google it after the fact. These are the companies and strategies that, like I said, these are the folks that did Lucid, these are the folks that did these are the folks helping Intel, Samsung, you name it, they're on this list. And I was able to have some very unique, fun ways of getting to a couple of these folks, and just, it's all about relationships. One guy up there with his own agency, huge guy, I emailed him thank you after the fact and called him the wrong name. He immediately remembered me from there on out. But that guy came up in a project we're looking at with the ACA right now. He was one of the first ones to come up. I'm like, oh, he's absolutely going to know who I am. One of these gentlemen that was involved in the Lucid deal was very elusive at the conference. He was clearly one of those people that you could just tell, you know, is one of those folks. And it turns out we go to the same place in Long Island every summer, immediate connection. I said, when I email you, I'm not going to tell you about Maricopa. I'm just going to say that whatever restaurant. He said, yeah, do that, because otherwise I'll just delete it. It's a very competitive field. The next slide. So while also there, we had the Site Selector Guild, which again opened up 35 active contacts and activity. Also, we were able to get into New York, and I was able to meet with Hickey and Associates, one of the largest and oldest established firms in the world. And it was a very, facilitated by Ioana Morfesis. It was a very, very good meeting. And since then, they were telling me how two things will happen. After that meeting, agreed to let me present at one of their worldwide Zoom calls to their entire agency, the city of Maricopa, that's happening on the 26th. And then he also said that their principal vice president in terms of site selection was going to be in Arizona in August. I said, perfect, great, can't wait to have you out. Fast forward, we were working on getting the presentation scheduled, and I wrote him saying, hey, when you get your trip figured out, let me know. So I do. He goes, no, you misunderstood. I moved to Arizona. So this gentleman, the second in command of this whole agency, now lives in Scottsdale. We have already made arrangements, like I said, for the call, and I'm going to be getting together with him to show him not only just Maricopa, but a little bit of the valley. So it worked out very nicely. Oxford Analytica, also located in New York City, very old firm, and Wadley Donovan Gutshaw is in New Jersey. Another introduction from Ioana Morfesis, and the principal there will be at the Site Selector Guild next month. All of these relationships are active pieces that we are developing each day. We could have the next slide. Then you turn to, well, that's great. We made some tremendous outreach nationwide. We've got people talking about us. We've got large projects. I'm happy to report that on Monday we will have a site inspection from one of the site selectors who was also involved in Lucid. They're bringing a company around the entire Arizona area. They're going to fly in privately. Coolidge, Casa Grande, end their day with Maricopa, allow me to show them what we've been presenting. We are on their short list for this project. Very good project. That is a result of some of the local connection that we are making. We have active interaction going on, and obviously META has been in existence for a long time, but why did we do 2.0? Why are we here to create these kind of relationships where I've got people that we can talk to at GPEC? At the Arizona Commerce Authority, they have absolutely woken up because our phones are ringing and they're calling us, and we have senior vice presidents and vice presidents of business development actively putting Maricopa in front of clients now, where I just don't know if we have the same kind of activity. It has been very encouraging to get those phone calls, and it was just today that I was working with their senior VPs on that site inspection for Monday. We work with Pinell County. We are involved in local AAED. Went to a small new member mixer. You don't think much of it. Winds up having a vice president of a major local development firm that I don't know why he was there, to be perfectly honest, but it was great because I got to meet him, and now he's going to come down and see Maricopa. The Maricopa brokers, we are dealing on an active basis with those that are here locally, and then we have outreach to about 14 Phoenix-based commercial brokers and developers going on, and things are turning. I mean, we have good stories, we have good news because of the hard work of our city management and this council and what's going on in the city. So you guys are providing us with tremendous reasons to go out there. And what we're building are those touch points so that I can be going back to those 35 people every 90 days with something different. Because I can't just email them going, hey, me again. But we have stuff. We have things to entice them with. We have things to develop them with, and we're on their radar. the next slide might be very close to the end of this, saying that. It has been very productive. The relationships are growing, and we are getting the look that we need to get. So I hope I am leaving a minute or so for any questions, thoughts, or comments.
Council, questions at this time?
I can do.
Any questions? No, thank you, Adam. We appreciate the update. Very excited to see the continuation and the proliferation of these things. We were just leaning over and joking that, you talk about the ACA waking up. I said, well, it helps that I sat on their board for 2 years. So, but at the end of the day, the real premise here is it's about building relationships, and it's about showing up, and it's about being present and showing them something that they haven't seen before or they haven't seen in a long time. And that's the opportunity that exists here. So thank you for continuing to share that on our behalf. And yeah, we look forward to seeing so many more things continue to come.
In a few weeks, we've compiled data on, I thought it would be good for everyone to see what kind of projects have been coming out, what are they looking for, and what have we responded to in kind. I'll be back with that data for you.
Perfect. Good.
Adam, I'm sure we're all available at your need to meet with these people. I'd be happy to meet with them. I think it would show that the city council, the mayor, not that he has, any more free hours in a day to give up, but I'm sure any one of us, if you asked us, we would love to maybe join you and show our support that, you have somebody behind you. So feel free to contact, and I'll speak for myself. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I know everybody would be happy to help you out and make this.
Absolutely, I appreciate that, and I'll let the ACA know, on Monday, like I said, that we're arranging something. Maybe that could be, it's going to be a little later in the day. Both the mayor, the city manager, everybody has been tremendously helpful with sitting in and getting involved. We talked to council about a really big campus project that we're still kind of juggling each day, trying to get to that finish line and right answer. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. That concludes item 8.1, and I'll take us to item 8.2. The mayor and city council share a presentation related to community facilities districts. This is for discussion only. So we call these, in short, CFDs.
Can you guys hear me?
More or less.
How about now?
Keep going.
As loud as you want, Mayor Price.
That's right. You're good.
So Mayor Price, Vice Mayor Smith, members of council, thank you for a few minutes of your time. Matt Kozlowski, Chief Financial Officer, joined by Nathan Steele, our Chief Economic Development Officer. We're going to take a few minutes to talk about Community Facilities Districts, or CFDs for short, as Mayor Price said. This is coming from a place of economic development at the end of the day. A few months ago, Mayor Price and Vice Mayor Smith were very helpful in some of the legislative changes that the city would like to see made at the state level regarding economic development, because for all of the gusto and credit that Arizona gets as this incredibly business-friendly state, a state of opportunity, and it certainly is, it lacks in economic development tools compared to states like California, Utah, and Texas. And these are states that are finding themselves growing at phenomenal rates just like we are, so we need to look for unique opportunities to grow ourselves, and CFDs is one of those. So we'll take a few minutes to talk about these, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us. So next slide, please. So in short, what is a community facilities district? The district has multiple purposes. Number one, it is a special purpose district. Number two, it is a tax levying public improvement district. And number three, it is a municipal corporation for all purposes. Except otherwise noted in this section, a district is considered to be a municipal corporation and political subdivision of the state, separate and apart from the municipality or county. So in Arizona right now, there are 24 cities currently using CFDs as economic development tools. We have had conversations with multiple cities, learning what they're doing, the good, the bad, and how they administer their CFDs and determine what is best for the city and for our citizens. So next slide, please. First of all, why use CFDs? Developers desire CFDs for accelerated reimbursement or construction financing purposes, tax considerations, and to provide consistent financing through economic cycles. The reason that cities consider these are for economic development, enhanced infrastructure within master planned communities, and an ability to deal with infrastructure on a more comprehensive basis, sometimes locally and sometimes on a more regional level, particularly when those communities are over 600 acres in size or 2,500 homes and lots. These can be used for anything from highways, streets, roadways, public parking facilities, to landscaping, flood control, water systems, sewer and drainage, Streetlights, signals, public safety facilities, you name it, CFDs can be used for these, so they are attractive tools when cities are looking to make interesting things happen. So in the formation of a CFD, City Council actually acts as the district board to act in the best interests of the citizens within that district. Next slide, please. So first things first, where are we at in this process? Right now, all we are doing is performing the research on what would go into this. If we can look at this 7-step process, right now we are actually, I would flip item 1 and item 2. Phase 1 for us would be to adopt local goals and policies for what we would want a CFD to do. Some cities are very aggressive with these, some are very selective. At this point in the research process, we agree that we would want to be very selective with these considerations. We would want to set up our own policies, our own goals, and we would want to stick to those. One of the pointers that we've gotten from multiple cities is if you develop the policies and the goals that you want and stick to those and do not let developers negotiate or change what works for you, it tends to work pretty well. So we believe very strongly that that would be the approach that we would want to take. Once we would have those goals and policies adopted, if anybody was interested in pursuing this with us from a development perspective, we could initiate the CFD, propose a resolution of intention, we would conduct a public hearing, we would adopt a resolution of formation to incur debt if applicable, and there would be an election held if any of that was to take place. Now, this is only specific to the development that is being discussed in that situation. It is not citywide. It is only for that specific area and that specific development. So if that was voted upon in a positive manner, then you could issue any debt if applicable. So next slide, please. What kinds of debt would be issued in these instances? One of the most common is general obligation bonds. Those have strong credit. That leads to good interest rates and are most well understood by investors, so they tend to be very attractive. Something that's becoming more common and is currently our preferred option would actually be special assessment revenue bonds, where the credit considerations are a little weaker, but specific real property is assessed and bonds were paid through installments by the property owners and can be paid off early, and we can engage with the county to collect any of the assessments necessary, which is really nice. It takes a lot of the administrative pain off of running a CFD. I'm going to flip my discussion here real quick to the bottom bullet. These districts are established to separate district business from city business. The city is not obligated to support a CFD in any operational or fiscal manner, which is one of the reasons that a lot of cities are looking to these, is because you can separate and protect when necessary. One of the cool things that we've discovered in this process is that a lot of Arizona CFDs have shown remarkable fiscal responsibility in their decision making. A lot of times what they will do is they make sure they have strong development agreements, letters of credit. They ask developers to actually cover debt payment gaps, and for a quick example of that, they might set a very specific rate or fixed amount that they want somebody to pay within a CFD each year, and then if there are any obligations to pay debt or interest above and beyond what is collected, the developers are responsible for that and not the CFD or the citizens. So some of these are pretty unique ways of making sure that if a CFD is generated, that the residents living within that district are not paying excessively to achieve the infrastructure goals that the CFD is in place for. And because everything is tied to assessed property values, no debt would be issued until there is sufficient value equivalent to the debt issuance. So again, pretty attractive from a fiscal perspective. So at this point, that's the boring financial aspect. What I'd like to do is give Nathan the opportunity to talk about why this is attractive and potentially a creative economic development tool. So thank you.
So if we could hop to the next slide. Yeah, Matt just explained the what and the how. This kind of does in the why in the heck are we even looking at this in the first place. And so a CFD, a community facility district, with the assistance of permitting one of these, now a developer would have the funding to put in the necessary infrastructure that he talked about before. It could be utilities, it could be public amenities, or it could be mixed use components or other things. The city of Maricopa has a standard. We don't want someone to come in and just put in whatever's the cheapest thing and then walk out. We want it to be part of the community and to be part of our home, because they're ultimately building homes for more of our neighbors and more of our families. And so we want it to be held to a high standard. There are many, and we've been very fortunate in Maricopa that the majority of the developers that have come in have incorporated these things on their own. They've already paid to put in a lot of the utility infrastructure, nice roads, nice sidewalks, nice streetlights, and all of that. But as Maricopa continues to grow, these next couple years, you're going to see a lot of infill where the neighborhoods that have already been entitled, they're just going to finish those homes. But you're also going to start seeing the creation of new neighborhoods, new subdivisions that may not have utility infrastructure all that close. They may not have a road right next door, and so they might need to pave and really lay a couple miles of road in order to get to their new subdivisions. Because the cost of providing that infrastructure is so high, they may put all the money in that and then skimp on things such as the public amenities or mixed-use components, or maybe the higher design standards of those amenities. The CFD now becomes a tool, if we create a policy to allow it, that these developers can use in order to provide a high-quality product to the end resident and then ultimately to the community. This district then helps to bridge the gap that allows developers to move quickly, which is what they've come to appreciate about City of Maricopa. You're able to do your project on your time frame. Worst thing you can say about us is that the city's slowing you down. Do it on your time frame. And produce also a quality product that's up to our standards. CFDs are a discipline tool. It's going to be used in a specific and strategic instances. Not every developer is going to use this. And there might even be some that come and say, hey, I want to use the CFD because free money. And we'll go, well, you don't really meet the criteria for this. That's another one of the reasons that Matt talked about before. Set the policies, set the goals at the forefront so you can really establish what developments even qualify to consider a CFD. If we go to the next slide, they're throughout the state, from Sahuarita to Tucson to Mesa to Glendale to Scottsdale, and they have produced some really nice neighborhoods that become really successful in terms of creating a sense of place. And we want to allow our private sector developers as well as our public sector every tool available to them in order to produce really high quality products. And so that's why Matt and I just want to share that with you today. That's an option to increase the number of economic development tools in our toolbox. So with that, we're happy to answer questions, but I think our city manager is going to say something too.
Yes, City
If
Manager.
I can just add a few additional thoughts. He turns my mic up. If you think about a project, as you know now, our current policy is we collect impact fees, for instance, to build roads. And so they build a project, and the impact fees come in arrears. And so you build the road sometimes after the need, which this program allows it to be built up front. It may also mean that they no longer have to pay the impact fees because they may get credits because they already built the infrastructure through the CFD rather than impact fees. So it's not really a double dipping, it's a pushing forward that opportunity. And I just wanted to mention specifically, as you know, we're working on a flood mitigation project that will take 11 square miles out of the floodplain, which, as I shared with you before, would open the door for at least $1.8 billion of development opportunity. This is likely one of the tools that will be considered. So the land in that 11 square miles, those landowners would be taxed, and we would only do a special assessment because GO bonds puts the entire city at risk. We only want to put the landowners who benefit from the project at risk. So it would be a special assessment, and the landowners would pay that. And as they develop and sell off homes, those homes would pay that tax for 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, until it's paid off. But they know that going in, and they know what they're getting for that fee. But remember, they're paying that tax on the back end, but the cost of the house did not include the impact fee on the front end, if that makes sense. So I think it's a tool that we're going to come back with more detail with and present the policies and the guidelines. There could be special events. For instance, if we have the opportunity to build an industrial park that brings thousands of jobs, they're not going to say, well, we'll bring the jobs, you build the roads in 2 years, 4 years, we got to do it now, right? So there's options there to do this. It's not for your typical subdivision, and although it was stated, I want to make sure our press understands and our citizens understand, this is not a tax that would be levied upon the general citizenry of the city, but only upon those property owners within a specified district, and only after the property owners elect and vote to do so.
Questions, council? Yes, Vice Mayor.
There's so much to be learned about CFDs, and I have followed this while Pinal County was looking into it and figuring out how to best use the CFD to help in terms of economic development. I just want to say that I am cautiously listening because it concerns me when I think about how developers might use this to lower their cost, but increase the cost of a resident buying a home. And is that home really cheaper because they're paying for it in advance with a CFD? I'm just cautious, and I know I have a lot to learn, but I wanted to put that out there because what I learned as Pinal County went through it is that it appeared very likely to me that the developer was trying to take advantage of it for the benefit of the developer and not necessarily the community. And so that's something that I would really want to strongly look at. I think that the flood control, when I think of CFDs, that makes perfect sense to me, perfect sense. I could buy into that because what you're doing is a developer can't be responsible for an entire flood control solution, right? So you can work together and create a district, and the homes that are built there, the economic development opportunities that are built there will benefit from just having the land available. So I can see the benefit to the community in something like that. I'm very cautious in terms of looking at opportunities for developers to build and reduce their costs, but increase the cost to residents that might move into that. I'm happy to hear, because one thing I did not learn from Pinal County was that it's a fee that ends. So I'm happy to hear that. I did not understand that element of it. So that is good, because when I think of a tax or a fee or something like that, I always like that the residents get to vote on it and that there's an end in sight and they understand what the benefit is. So that was really good information to share tonight. So I think there's pros and cons, and I stepped really very cautiously and conservatively through this, but I did want to mention that I do believe that the flood control problem is really a perfect opportunity for something like this. I don't have any specific questions because there's so much to learn, but just my insight and my input at this point.
As the staff indicated, not every project will qualify.
Right.
And the policies and guidelines that you would adopt through a public hearing process would be the governance to ensure those protections you're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, I would echo the same sentiments as the Vice Mayor. You know, I have followed CFDs for so long, long before I was on council, and you know, it's something that I'm going to be honest with, that I was really adamantly against them for a long time. But also being in the world of economic development, being in a world of seeing the struggles that some developers go through, some of the challenges that are out there that are just insurmountable. You know, and we always claim that a developer is going to make all this money, but you know, you also sometimes have to remember that sometimes they will buy an entitled land and then spend millions of dollars on it. They pay millions of dollars in taxes on it, and they haven't sold a single lot yet. And they have to sit on that for 12, 15, sometimes 25 years and hope that out the back end that they make a profit. Now, again, a lot of people have become very rich doing that, but at the same time, they take a lot of risk. And so I think that at the end of the day, I think the key is the policy.
Yeah.
You know, and I liked what you said earlier that the other cities said about I'm all for being flexible with developers and listening to what their ideas are. But I also find that hesitancy that it is a give and take. And in any give and take, there can be the ability to abuse the system, and that it can be used too far to say, I'm using this, therefore covering what I was going to put into this and then just taking it home. The other side to it is also I always worry about, what does the owner of that particular location in that CFD have to saddle themselves with? Now, to the city manager's point, you didn't pay for it up front, you're paying for it out the back. So you're gonna pay for it somewhere along the line. That's the way we get things we want, right? But I also then couple that with what what the people of Maricopa are constantly telling me, which is we need more infrastructure, Couldn't agree more. And some of that is limited by land, some of that is limited by distance and, abilities and foreign nations around us. But at the same time, sometimes it's limited by money, right? Sometimes it's limited by what you have access to. And so, I too have become very, very open to these understandings of the CFDs. I think it's about I really would like to see us put our due diligence into the policies. What do we see other similar growing cities, bigger cities that have done it and done it right and done it wrong, smaller cities that are entering it now, and really find that perfect policy for Maricopa. I'd like to see that we talk with developers and see where they've had success. And you have a list up here where, talking about Eastmark, for example, or Quail Creek, and, some of these locations around Surprise and Peoria, this is how you get these amenities. And so this is what makes it a destination location, like you said, Nathan, a sense of place. And when I think about Maricopa, I think that there was a time in which we went through a period by which the developments, I wouldn't say diminished in any way. They changed and we're trying to be different than each development. But there are certainly developments when you look back, you say, well, I want to be in that one because it has more amenities, right? So if I have young kids, I want to go to this one because it has a pool and a clubhouse and a tennis court or this or that and the other, right? Or, hey, I like to play Frisbee golf, so I'm, in this particular development because it has a lot more, grass or green area or things like that. So I think that the differential between them is exceptional, and I think we'll continue to see that. But I think there's a lot of ideas that have yet to play out because there simply wasn't enough funds to go around. And so as you start talking about the flood control and the 11 miles and the billions of dollars that literally can come out of the ground here and put into infrastructure that allow byways and passageways and moving people and goods and services, that makes the economy as a whole more productive, and it makes Maricopa more successful, and it makes it easier to be here, right? Because you don't just have that one way in or one way out. You don't have that one way to get to the 347 anymore. You have multiple ways. And I think those are things that this can provide in time within parameters and with lots of input and lots of discussion. And I look forward to absolutely participating in this as we move forward, because I definitely see that I would say I flipped. I have changed. I have grown. I have learned. I have seen there is a light here. And so where I was against them, I very much am about an 80-20 for them, and I'd like to see what we are able to bring forward and set forth as Maricopa's policies that are right for us. So thank you. Anyone else at this time? Yes, City Manager Horst.
A quick closing comment from me. If the CFD tool is used for nothing except the flood control project, which ultimately turns a $65 million investment into a $1.8 million return, that is a significant economic development tool, creating jobs and value and all the things that come with that, and with that, hospitals and all the things that communities need. So we need to move this forward if for no other reason than that. And we're probably, just to update you, we're submitting the 30% plans to FEMA probably next week. We anticipate them taking, FEMA is a slow process, most of you know that. So we're probably a year out having the final CLOMAR submitted. So at that time, we will start putting together a financial plan, which mostly includes the stakeholders, the landowners. Again, I want to emphasize this is not a burden going on to any of our citizens except those who own land in that area, and they will have to choose and vote to do it. But this project will be, if you remember, the FEMA wanted to build the 1 mile wide wash through the middle of the city, creating East and West Maricopa, which would have been a burden on utilities and transportation corridors, public safety, and everything else, this is the right solution. So for every dollar spent, a $64 return, that's not bad.
Agreed. Yes, Councilmember Marsh and then Vice Mayor.
As with any complex financial tool, CFDs can be abused. If there's a rogue city council elected or majority elected, if there's a rogue city manager or economic development team, things can go sour. That said, I believe that we have a team here that's not rogue, and that we can develop policies that can be managed, can be tracked, can be proven, and could be demonstrated on a project like the flood control project. And we could at least give it a shot and see if it works. And then if, with practice and with perfecting our policies, we could then look into using it on other projects. So I'd give it a thumbs up. Thanks.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
So in talking about the voting, in a case where the floodplain would be used as a perfect example, so it would be in that case the landowners who would vote on it, and then so this fee is imposed on the resulting residents or businesses. And so just tell me as I'm going if I'm getting this correct. And would they be notified before signing that this is imposed on them, and for how long?
So any kind of financial thing tied to a parcel of land or property is disclosed upon the purchase of that.
I figured so, but I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's tied to the title. But if a developer has, the present owners are the ones who would vote it in. But if you purchase a home, you're going to pick up a piece of that
Right.
debt, and you'll pay it off over time. But that is disclosed as part of the title search. They're well aware of it. In essence, I call it a dirt bond because the dirt becomes the collateral. And in this particular case, because it is 11 square miles, which is a lot of acreage, the collateral is there just in raw dirt based on the potential what it can be. But I also want to stress once again that the city as an entity has no responsibility, no liability, no anything with
Right.
regard to this project. So they can't come back and sue the city or we have to pick up the debt. None of that is the case. That's what Matt was saying about this is a district responsibility and why you would wear a different hat as the district board versus the city board.
Yeah, one of the benefits that was an outcome of all of our research was that, and we'll work this into our policies that we present to you, is that there's usually different kind of options for a new home buyer to address the payoff of all of this. We'll make sure all that gets included in the policy so it's as transparent as possible.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else at this time? Council? Yoke? Thank you very much for the presentation. Very helpful. We'll look forward to seeing more on that in the coming weeks. With that, I believe that concludes our meeting this evening. Thank you very much for your participation and for being here this evening. And with that, Council, we will move to adjourn this meeting and reconvene in a couple of weeks. So can I have a motion to adjourn, please? So moved. Is there a second? Second from Councilmember Marsh. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks.